Hello, and glad you can join us. Here's what's happening right now, a new rate cut. But is it the key to easing Canada's financial pain?
Every $100 of saving a month helps.
What it means for Canadians banking on some relief.
This is truly one of the highest honors of my life.
What's at stake as the UK rolls out the royal pomp and circumstance?
We're shooting a very hot flame at this.
Plus the unusual ingredient that can make houses fireproof.
CTV National News with Sandy Ronaldo.
Well, Canadians haven't seen a bank rate cut since March, nor have we seen it this low in years. After the Bank of Canada today eased its trend-setting interest rate to 2.5%, which means some variable rates have dropped below fixed, certainly an improvement from a year ago. CTV's senior political correspondent Mike Couture takes a closer look at the thinking behind the rate reduction. Hi, Mike.
Well, Sandy, with global economic growth showing signs of slowing, Tiff Macklem says much of the uncertainty is because of the trade war with the U.S.
Tariffs are weakening the Canadian economy.
Canada's central banker couldn't be more blunt. As exports dropped by 27% in the second quarter of this year and inflation rose by 1.9%, Tiff Macklem and his team decided it was best to lower interest rates.
Canadians remain concerned about the cost of living. And our primary mandate is to maintain low, stable inflation, and we are very focused on that.
Canada's GDP declined by 1.6% in the second quarter, and some forecasts have the rest of the year looking flat, leading some economists to use the R word.
The term is technical recession, where there's two negative quarters. Well, certainly we're pretty well there. The third quarter, it's going to be flat at best.
The central bank disagrees, predicting modest growth in the second half of the year. But Macklem says that could change depending on what comes from the U.S.
Where there's a significant escalation of tariffs, U.S. tariffs, in that scenario, the Canadian economy does go into recession.
The effects of the trade war are also being felt in the U.S., where job gains have slowed and inflation ticked up. It's why the U.S. Federal Reserve recommended cutting its interest rate by 25 basis points on Wednesday. And while the decisions in each country are made independently, it does provide some perspective.
You know, we talk about we got a big deficit of debt. Well, theirs is way bigger than ours are.
The Bank of Canada's next rate decision is in October, but it's unclear if there will be another cut then. With the federal budget expected November 4th, Macklem could wait to see the scope of government spending before cutting the interest rate again. Sandy?
Okay, Mike, thank you. So the thinking behind today's cut to stimulate a weakened economy. CTV's chief financial correspondent, Amanda Lang, had a one-on-one with the governor of the Bank of Canada today. Okay, Amanda, did Tiff Macklem add anything else to what we heard him say earlier in the day?
Well, Sandy, along with what you've already heard, which is that inflation is okay for now, they're not terribly worried, Tiff Macklem did underscore the fact that the trade situation is the real task at hand. That's the thing that needs to be resolved. It's not something a central bank has control over. What he did tell me is that as businesses in this country pivot away from that U.S. market, find new markets, find new suppliers, that in itself will be inflationary. Have a listen.
These new tariffs, the unpredictability of our relationship with the United States, I think is underscored for businesses is, yes, they need to look for new markets. It's been very easy to export to the United States. It's gotten a lot harder. Businesses are now putting more effort in figuring out how to get product to new markets, how to develop those markets. And as you said, that all has some costs.
Tiff Macklem also notes that as they'll be watching those higher costs that come with that pivot, one of the issues, of course, that's central for most Canadians is affordability, Sandy. And Macklem went out of his way to say the structural reforms our Canadian economy needs to help Canadians, also not in the central bank's mandate. That would be, of course, falling squarely to a federal budget. Sandy?
For sure. Okay, Amanda, thank you.
Thanks.
All right, now the question is the reduction, a silver bullet for mortgages, housing, and big ticket purchases like cars. Well, experts say it isn't because Canadians are still wearing the scars from past rate swings. CTV's Heather Wright checks out what consumers are saying about this latest cut. Heather.
Well, Sandy, it's certainly a help, but the impact it will have on household finances will likely be minimal.
Roughly 1 million Canadians are renewing their mortgages this year, including Elias Eid.
Another quarter point is good.
Eid last renewed his mortgage 2 years ago when the Bank of Canada's overnight rate was 5%. His monthly payments went from $2,000 to $3,600.
I had to double my withdrawal from my RSP to be able to cover the mortgage and the property taxes. That's how painful it was. But, you know, that's life.
Eid expects to save a few $100s a month once he renews his mortgage, but despite today's cut, many other Canadians are bracing for significant increases to their monthly payments. According to the Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation, roughly 85% of mortgages up for renewal this year were taken out when the Bank of Canada's interest rate was at or below 1%.
The extent to which this will translate into a reduction in mortgage rates, I think that's kind of muted, but it's going in the right direction.
The cut will also help anyone with a line of credit or those looking to finance large ticket items like a car.
As the economy is starting to slow down, this is going to give families just a little bit of extra borrowing capacity and really help to drive consumer spending forward again.
While this rate cut is good news for many households, the Bank of Canada did acknowledge the significant headwinds in the economy, including a weak job market with the unemployment rate rising significantly this year.
Okay.
Sandy.
CTV's Heather Wright. The King of England rolled out what some call a shock and awe display of pomp and pageantry for the U.S. president on the first full day of Donald Trump's state visit to the U.K. He avoided the protests while he slept comfortably in an ancient castle and was feted in royal style. CTV's Washington Bureau Chief Joy Malbon is in Windsor. Okay, Joy, sure looks like the monarch went all out.
Hey, Sandy, talk about a royal charm offensive. The U.S. President Donald Trump and First Lady Melania arrived to a spectacular welcome, greeted by Prince William and Princess Catherine, and then King Charles and Queen Camilla. Pulling out all the stops designed to dazzle the U.S. president, who's a great admirer of the late Queen and royal family. There was a massive military performance, a fly past with the red arrows, but all of this is happening inside these castle walls where security is very tight, and avoiding the large number of anti-Trump protesters here and in London. Today's pomp is a rare honor for this president. It's meant to strengthen ties between the U.S. and the U.K., the so-called special relationship, and it's recognition that the U.S. president has craved. The British government hopes this will smooth over some thorny issues when Prime Minister Keir Starmer meets with Trump over tariffs. The government hopes to ink new trade and technology deals. And there's also the issue of support for Ukraine. While King Charles is politically neutral, he may delicately raise the issue with the president, capping the day with a lavish banquet fit for the president and hosted by the king. Today, the pageantry. Tomorrow, the politics. All of this happening in just 48 hours.
Right.
Sandy?
Okay, Joy, thanks. And indeed, as Joy mentioned, Donald Trump was the guest of honor at that opulent state banquet hosted by the king. And here's some of the praise offered up by both men in their respective toasts.
It is remarkable to think just how far we have come. I cannot help but wonder what our forebears from 1776 would make of this friendship today.
The word special does not begin to do it justice. We're joined by history and fate, and by love and language, and by transcendent ties of culture, tradition, ancestry.
Well, Mark Carney is making his own high-profile visit. The Prime Minister heading to Mexico tomorrow to try to mend fences with President Claudia Sheinbaum in a push to deepen trade ties between the two countries and patch up strained relations after several political incidents. CTV's Judy Trin now on what the Prime Minister hopes to accomplish in Mexico in an effort to diversify trade. Judy.
Sandy, the U.S. is the biggest trading partner for both Canada and Mexico, and there are concerns that the Trump administration will use CUSMA to divide and conquer.
Not the best deal of anyone right now.
85% of trade between Canada and the United States remains free, but change is coming. The existing North American agreement expires next June. The Trump administration has served notice that its public consultations on CUSMA have started. It's seeking input on how it can be remade to strengthen U.S. competitiveness, productivity, and technology.
Clearly, the U.S. is moving into the phase of preparing for renegotiation, and they're trying to get stakeholders to give them a list of all of the things that they have concerns about.
The official start of the CUSMA review comes as the Prime Minister travels to meet Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum on Thursday. Canada did $56 billion in trade with Mexico last year. Both countries want to increase business with each other, but also face tariff pressure from the U.S.
I find it very, very difficult to imagine how the two countries are going to find a lot of common ground. There's so much pressure right now, which is sort of pushing them away from each other as each one tries to secure preferential treatment from Washington.
Ontario Premier Doug Ford and Alberta Premier Danielle Smith have both previously said that they would favor dropping Mexico from CUSMA to curry favor with Donald Trump. But both the Prime Minister and President Sheinbaum say they're committed to a North American trade agreement. Sandy.
All right, Judy Tritton. More top former ministers who sat around Justin Trudeau's cabinet table are getting diplomatic appointments. CTV News has learned former Defence Minister Bill Blair will become the High Commissioner to the UK. Former Justice Minister David Lametti becomes Ambassador to the United Nations, replacing Bob Rae. And former Energy Minister Jonathan Wilkinson has been offered Ambassador to the EU. This follows the announcement yesterday that Chrystia Freeland will be Canada's new Special Representative to Ukraine. Well, a Nova Scotia man who was a swim instructor at a correctional youth centre for years is under arrest and facing 66 sexual assault charges. Police say the man allegedly tampered with more than 300 young people, and they are calling on others who may have been abused to come forward. CTV's Paul Hollingsworth on this shocking case and what else is known about the 75-year-old suspect.
Sandy, the RCMP say he held a position of authority at the youth center. The charges were announced this morning at an emotional news conference.
On Saturday, September 13th, 75-year-old Donald Douglas Williams was safely arrested at his home in Dartmouth.
Williams was the swim instructor at the Nova Scotia Youth Centre from 1988 until 2017. Following a multi-year investigation called Operation Headwind, Williams is now facing 66 charges related to 30 alleged victims.
3 counts of sexual assault causing bodily harm, 28 counts of sexual assault, 32 counts of sexual exploitation, 1 count of sexual interference, 1 count of invitation to sexual touching, and 1 count of assault.
The RCMP believe there are more survivors, and they say it's not too late to report what happened. Williams has been released and is due to appear in provincial court on September 26th. Sandy.
Paul Hollingsworth. Genetic testing has given Montreal police the break they needed to solve a 17-year-old cold case. For years, there was nothing to link a career criminal to a 26-year-old woman whose remains were found in a burned-out apartment. CTV's Quebec Bureau Chief Geneviève Beauchemin now on what led police to their man. Jen.
Yes, Andy, this was an old case where all leads had dried up until advances in technology stepped in. The unsolved murder of Catherine Daviau in 2008 was one of Quebec's highest profiled cold cases until now.
The murderer was Jacques Bolduc.
Bolduc was a career criminal with a long record of car thefts, attempted murders, who died in prison 4 years ago and had been incinerated. He was a stranger to Daviau and was never a suspect in the case until the forensic lab got a hit using genetic genealogy. Matching DNA found at the scene to a sample from a distant relative on a public bank.
That's the only clue that led to the identification of Jacques Bolduc.
Investigators then used that lead to piece together what happened. Police say Daviau had placed an online ad to sell her car. One they now know her murderer, Bolduc, who was on parole at the time, answered. Police say she was killed not long after she came home from work in 2008. Neighbors called 911 to report a fire in her apartment. Police found her body, her doors all locked. Police say they hope knowing the facts will bring some peace to the family now that the case is closed. Investigators here in Montreal say these techniques have helped them solve cold cases, but they intend to use them in current cases as well. Sandy.
All right, Jen, thank you. Still ahead, anything but a heyday for farmers. How the public can help protect livestock. Halifax police are thanking the public for help in identifying a man after 3 synagogues in the city were vandalized. Within hours, there were 6 incidents of racist graffiti, including a swastika spray painted over the sign at the Shar Shalom synagogue. 31-year-old Gezem Topali is under arrest and faces several charges, including public incitement of hatred, in connection with what police are calling hate crimes. Now, Eastern Canada is dealing with drought conditions so serious that the public has been asked to conserve hay bales so that livestock have enough to eat. CTV's Garrett Barry spoke to one farmer about the very dire situation. Hey, Garrett.
Sandy, these green fields are a welcome sight here in Newfoundland and Labrador. Farmers hope that another good crop of hay might alleviate concerns about a shortage over the winter.
These bales of hay are the hottest commodity at Tommy Williams's farm in St. John's.
People calling every day for 100, 200 of those white round bales and just don't have it to sell them.
As a businessman, he's in a strange position, having to turn away customers and giving first dibs to longtime clients.
Usually I'm trying to sell it this time of year. I hate to say no, but you got to keep your regulars going too. You can't supply the whole island. I wish I could, but...
That's how hard it's getting to find hay in this province after an extraordinarily hot and dry summer. Williams figures his crop yield is down about 20% and prices up the same amount. Agriculture Canada says this area dipped into an extreme drought by the end of last month. August was one of the driest months on record across Atlantic Canada. Grass is growing again, but Williams can't do anything but wait and hope it grows high before the first frost is expected next month. Otherwise, there just won't be enough to feed all the hungry animals.
Well, they got to downsize. Some animals got to go. Maybe some people won't keep the old horse that has just been prolonging, but who knows?
The small and even backyard farmers that we have been speaking to today anticipate even more challenges for their operations because they don't have the infrastructure to buy and store large quantities of hay all at once. That might mean more expensive orders from other parts of the country. Sandy.
Okay, CTV's Garrett Barry. Coming up after the break, when a sweet partnership sours, an iconic ice cream brand bitterly divided over social causes. Israel could face new international sanctions as its military presses further into Gaza City. The IDF dropped leaflets today telling Palestinians to leave. Children were seen running to collect the papers falling from the sky. The Israeli military says it is opening an additional exit route for 48 hours. According to the Hamas-run health ministry, overnight strikes killed at least 16 people.
The aim is not to punish Israel. The aim is to improve the humanitarian situation in Gaza.
And the European Commission proposed its toughest sanctions plan yet on Israel. It would freeze some assets and increase tariffs. Global Affairs Canada has called Israel's ground offensive in Gaza, quote, horrific, adding that it worsens the humanitarian crisis. Jerry Greenfield, one of the co-founders of Ben & Jerry's Ice Cream, is stepping down, saying the brand has been silenced on social issues, including the war in Gaza. Greenfield's business partner, Ben Cohen, posted a statement on his behalf, writing, quote, it's with a broken heart that I've decided I can no longer, in good conscience, and after 47 years, remain an employee of Ben & Jerry's. Unilever says it disagreed with Greenfield's perspective. The relationship started to sour in 2021 after Ben & Jerry's said it would stop selling ice cream in the occupied West Bank, which led to a lawsuit.
I'm Andrew Johnson in BC's hot, dry Okanagan, where a home is being built out of a material that can withstand a wildfire.
When a wildfire happens to pass through this property, it has a very good chance of surviving.
How it works and how much you'll pay, coming up on CTV National News.
As we saw this summer, the wildfire season in Canada is getting worse, becoming more dangerous for homeowners. A European approach is now being tested in BC that might help, using a material that is fire resistant. CTV's Andrew Johnson now on a natural approach to an age-old danger. Hi, Andrew.
Sandy, this is the first home of its kind in BC's hot, dry Okanagan, and it comes with one heck of a selling feature. It's designed to be fireproof for up to 2 hours. Inside this home being built in Lumby, BC, some of the sights and sounds of construction are what you'd expect. Others, not so much. The wood frame is being encased in what's being mixed outside. Not concrete, hempcrete.
This first originated out of Europe. They've been building with hempcrete for generations.
Stuffed inside the extra thick walls of this place is something called hemp mash. It's a mixture of hemp, lime, and water. It replaces drywall and insulation. On the outside of the house, a coating that acts as armor in the event of a wildfire.
As you can see, we're shooting a very hot flame at this.
He says the lime material can endure flames for more than 2 hours, part of a fire-resistant shell that also includes a metal roof and metal-clad windows.
When a wildfire happens to pass through this property, it has a very good chance of surviving.
The owner, Kathy Haslett, figures she's paying about a 15% premium over standard construction and thinks it's worth every penny.
What are you saving? You're saving a ton. If a fire comes through, it doesn't burn, right? You're not losing your home and everything in it.
The hempcrete also absorbs a significant amount of carbon and is expected to last 100 years. It's most commonly used in Europe. The designer of this home says the biggest obstacle in Canada is awareness.
If people don't know that it's an option, they can't choose it. What I love about it so much is that it's a material that is healthy for both people and planet.
Kathy's hoping to move into the house before Christmas, and the builders hope this is just the beginning of big demand for hempcrete in a region where the threat of wildfires is a yearly reality. Sandy.
What an interesting option, Andrew. Thank you. Thank you also for sharing your time with us. Your local CTV News is coming up. I'm Sandy Ronaldo. Bye for now. See you tomorrow.